Hey there, and welcome to What You Didn't Hear, the podcast where we dig into history's group chat and spill the tea no one bothered to include in the textbooks. I'm Zane Gould, your guide through the weird, wild, and we seriously never learned this in school side of history. Every episode we pick a date, today, last week, 500 years ago, and find the historical moments that flew under the radar. The awkward duels, the petty politics, the weird inventions, the scandalous letters. You know, the good stuff. So if you're into time travel without jet lag, obscure facts that make you sound smart at parties, and stories that make you say, wait, that actually happened? You're in the right place. Let's get into it. Here's what you didn't hear on October 15th.
Check it out! Back it up! Yeah. Drop it down! Make it shake!
October 15th is the day in 1815 that Napoleon Bonaparte began his exile on the island of St. Helena following his defeat at the Battle of Waterloo. But maybe you already knew this, so let's slide back and dig into some of the other stories history forgot. Pushing back to the year 533, on October 15th, Byzantine general Belesarius makes his formal entry into Carthage, having conquered it from the Vandals. The Byzantines were a continuation of the Roman Empire and considered its eastern half. They considered themselves Roman and upheld Roman law. The Vandals were a Germanic tribe known for destruction and migration across Europe. They sacked the city of Rome in the year 455. In 439, the Vandals captured the city of Carthage and established it as the capital of their North African kingdom, due to its strategic position for their navy. They held Carthage as the capital of their kingdom, which lasted for almost a century until General Belesarius of Eastern Roman Empire overtook the capital, officially ending the North African kingdom of the Vandals. It is believed that Belesarius is of Thraco-Roman descent and was born in modern-day southwest Bulgaria. His service to the Eastern Roman Empire is expansive. Belesarius fought in the Iberian War from 526 to 532. The Vandalic War from 533 to 544, the Gothic War, and the Lazic War. During the Gothic War, despite being heavily outnumbered, his army recaptured the city of Rome and held out against the Ostrogothics in the siege of Rome. Now we push forward to the year 1520. Big gap, I know. To when King Henry VIII ordered bowling lanes be built in his Hampton Court Palace and Whitehall Palace. Bowling was a favorite sport of King Henry VIII, and he placed restrictions on bowling in England, prohibiting the general public from playing and reserving it for the wealthy and elite who could afford land and lanes. His claimed goals in banning the public from participating in the sport were to promote archery and control gambling. Archery was a vital skill for the English military, and Henry VIII believed if commoners were allowed to bowl, they would slack on their archery practice. And keeping with the idle hands thought process, Henry VIII believed that gambling on the sport of bowling encouraged idleness among the poor. Only a couple years later, on the other side of the pond, King Charles V of Spain appoints Hernan Cortez the governor of Mexico. Cortez was a conquistador during the first wave of Spanish settlers to colonize the Americas. During his expedition from Cuba to the mainland, his journey was formally canceled, but in an act of open mutiny, he ignored the orders to return and pressed on to Mexico. After battling with coastal natives, Cortez conquered the region of Veracruz, and to ensure that there was no chance for his men to retreat or abandon their expedition, he had his ships scuttled. In fall of 1519, his army marched to Tenochtitlan and were peacefully received by Moctezuma. However, once received in his palace, Cortez took the Aztec emperor hostage, leading to the destruction of the Aztec Empire and Cortez being named the governor of Mexico by the King of Spain. In 1582, Pope Gregory XIII conquers Julius Caesar when the Gregorian calendar is introduced in Spain and Portugal. Nearly 200 years later, in 1764, Edward Gibbon observes a group of friars singing in the ruined Temple of Jupiter in Rome, which inspires him to begin his research and historical writings about the decline and fall of the Roman Empire. In New York, in 1786, the first officially recorded temperature of 32 degrees, or 0 Celsius, is marked on October 15th. In 1827, Charles Darwin is admitted into the University of Cambridge. On the same day, forward to 1860, Grace Bedell wrote to Abraham Lincoln from New York, requesting that he grow out his beard because "you would look a great deal better, for your face is so thin. All the ladies like whiskers, and they would tease their husbands to vote for you." Lincoln replied on the 18th of October, and Grace Bedell's letter inspired Abraham Lincoln to grow out his whiskers. 18 years later, on the same day, the Edison Electric Light Company is incorporated. A company being incorporated means it has been legally registered as a separate entity from its owners through a formal process with the state. This process creates a legal distinction, meaning the company can sue or be sued, and its owners' personal assets are protected from business debts and liabilities. In sports, Charles Old Hoss Radburn pitches his 60th win of the season in 1884 for the MLB Providence Grays in a 8-0 victory over the Quakers in Philadelphia. Just 10 years later, in France, Alfred Dreyfus is arrested and accused of espionage, an event known as the Dreyfus Affair. The Dreyfus Affair was a political scandal that divided the Third French Republic from 1894 until its resolution in 1906. The scandal began in December of 1894 when Captain Alfred Dreyfus, a 35-year-old French artillery officer of Jewish descent, was wrongfully convicted of treason for communicating French military secrets to German embassies in Paris. He was sentenced to life imprisonment and sent overseas to the penal colony of Devil's Island, where he spent the following 5 years imprisoned in very harsh conditions, and will remain in France for 1905 when Claude Debussy's symphonic sketch Le Mur premieres in Paris. In 1917, the Dutch exotic dancer Mata Hari is executed by firing squad for conspiring with Germany and spying for Germany during World War I. In 1924, President Calvin Coolidge declares the Statue of Liberty a national monument. The Statue of Liberty was built between 1875 to 1884 in France. The statue was then disassembled into 350 pieces, packed into 214 crates, and shipped to New York Harbor aboard a French vessel. It arrived on June 17, 1885. In literature, Ernest Hemingway's To Have and Have Not is published on October 15th in 1937. And in 1952, on the same day, Charlotte's Web, written by E.B. White, is published by Harper and Brothers. In 1966, the Black Panther political party is created by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale in Oakland, California. On the same day and same year, President Lyndon B. Johnson signs a bill creating the Department of Transportation. Jumping forward to 1980, the Nobel Prize in Economics is awarded to Lawrence Klein for creating econometric models and applying them to the analysis of economic fluctuations and policies. His work led to the development of large-scale computer models like the Link model, which integrate data from numerous countries to forecast economic trends. For today, this is where I will stop. I wanted to end with a bit of news regarding the podcast moving forward. I have completed writing the first deep dive episode, but I've not found time to record it and edit it just quite yet. It is becoming a little bit difficult to keep up with one episode every other week and everything else going on currently in my life. I will be moving the show to one episode a month for the specific days and one deep dive a month. I promise the first is coming, but I want to make sure it is a quality episode. I hope in the future I can move back to every other week for the regular episodes, but the student life is keeping me very busy lately. Now on to something more exciting. The return of Blind Date Through Time, the only dating show where the contestant, you, flirts with mystery and history to find a timeless connection. Here is this week's mystery dating profile. Username, RoughRider42. Location, somewhere between the Badlands and the White House. Occupation, former rancher, police chief, war hero, and something else. About me. By day, I enjoy long hikes through uncharted wilderness, boxing matches with close friends, and reorganizing entire naval fleets. By night, I read obscure historical tomes and write books faster than most people write emails. I once gave a speech after being shot in the chest. Ask me how that went. I've disappeared into the Amazon jungle and emerged with a map. I've charged up hills and into history. I trust in action over talk, but when I talk, people listen. Looking for a partner unafraid of a little danger, someone who can ride at dawn and debate at dusk. You value honor, intellect, and the occasional bear hunt, figurative usually. Must appreciate strong coffee and stronger wills. If you faint at the sight of blood or books, move along. Bonus points if you've ever run a country, wrangled cattle, fought for a just cause, or carried a big stick, metaphorically or otherwise. If you think you know who this week's mystery dating profile is, let me know via social media. And to close the episode off, the history of a commonly used phrase, bite the bullet. Bite the bullet originates from military practice, most likely from battlefield surgeries before the invention of anesthesia. To cope with the intense pain, soldiers were given a bullet to bite down on, which helped them endure the procedure without crying out or biting their tongue off. That is all I have for this episode of What You Didn't Hear. As always, thank you for listening. If you're just finding the podcast, I encourage you to go back and listen to the previous episodes, and I hope you'll stick around for future episodes. Please leave a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on, as this is the second best way for new people to find the show. The first best way is for you to share it with your history-intrigued friends. Until next time, this is What You Didn't Hear.